What's going on, everybody? It's going to be our Summary Markets weekly trade plan. We're going to start off with the calendar. Then we're going to move into ES and NASDAQ. We're going to talk about Bitcoin. We're going to talk about oil. We're going to talk about gold and then close it up with the dollar. So starting off with the calendar here, not a whole lot happening on Monday. We do have a couple of Fed talks in the morning around 9 o'clock, but no major data coming out on Monday. On Tuesday, we have major data coming out at 8:30 with the core PPI and the PPI data coming out. That's going to be pre-market. And then after the bell, we have Powell speaking. Let's actually take a look. What is he speaking on here? Netherlands Foreign Bankers Association. Gotcha. So that's going to be at 10 a.m. So keep an eye on that. On Wednesday, we've got CPI data coming out at 8:30, as well as retail sales, Empire State Manufacturing Index, and that's it. So all that's coming out at 8:30. Watch out for that. At 10 o'clock, we have business inventories and the housing market index. At 10:30, we have crude oil inventories, and then we have a Fed talk in the afternoon. Moving on to Thursday, we have unemployment claims, building permits, Philly Fed Index, housing starts, and import prices. All of that is happening at 8:30 in the morning, pre-market. And then right before the bell, we have industrial production and the cap rate at 9:15. And then a couple of Fed talks after the bell. Finally, on Friday, we have a Fed talk at 10:15, and that's really about it. So pretty active week, major data on Tuesday, major data on Wednesday, and then semi-major data on Thursday as well. If you guys are trading Monday and Friday, should be fairly normal, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday could be a little volatile. All right, starting off with our weekly trade plan here with ES, I want to go back and show you kind of our trade plan from last week. So our trade plan from last week, we had the need to hold level at 51.61, and that held beautifully. So right on the open, we had a strong push up on the week. You can see that Monday candle there, pushing higher and hitting our first target. So first target was immediately hit, and then our second target was 52.51. So that target was also hit. That was an increase of 90 points from the open of the week. Our final target was around 124 points. That one was not hit. So yeah, pretty strong week. Bulls were in control pretty much the entire week. They had one little pullback. I think that was on Wednesday. But they did have to buy that up and then quickly took back control on Thursday. So nearly the entire week, the buyers were very aggressive. So taking a look at our new trade plan here, the needs to hold level is 52.41. If we can hold above that level, the first target is going to be around 96. That's going to be an increase of about 57 points. And then our next target, our final target, would be around 53.33. That'd be an increase of nearly 100 points. That would have to hold above the Valeria high of last week. The secondary needs to hold. Let me actually make this dashed here. The secondary line is the Valeria low of last week. So if we pull back pretty early, yes, we could look for some bearish momentum from that Valeria high into that Valeria low. That would be a drop of about 50 points. It doesn't really change the structure. The structure is still fairly bullish as long as they can stay above that Valeria low. But if we begin to lose that Valeria low, then obviously the structure is changing quite a bit. We would be giving up this major level right here. There's very little value below it. The only major support just below would be the Valeria high of last week, and that is our first target, actually. Our first target is around 51.62. So that would be the first target if we can stay below the Valeria low. It's the Valeria high of last week. Next target would be the POC. That's around 44. And then finally, this would be very bearish. I don't think we're going to get down this low. You would have to have pretty much every single data print come out bearishly. But if it does, the final bearish target would be a full value retrace of last week. And that value retrace goes down to 74. Okay, so 51.90 hold below that level, little bit of support around 60 to 44, couple of targets there. And then if we can hold below 60, it gets very bearish down to 74. Okay, just keep an eye on those value levels. There is a big value support around 52.13. So if we pull back early, let's say Monday or Tuesday, it doesn't immediately mean the bears are going to completely nuke it. They might just be pulling back to retest that node. All right, let's go ahead and move on to NASDAQ. Let's start off with last week's last week's trade plan on NASDAQ. So our target at 18,293, that was an increase of 300 points, was achieved on NASDAQ. We had a target just above that around, I didn't mark it out here, but you can see right here, it was up probably another 20 points or so from that 293. So that target was achieved. Our final target was 18,518. That was an increase of 500 points. Obviously, we did not get that level. So once again, pretty bullish. It maintained a lot of buy pressure right out of the gate. They did not stay below that 18,000, so the bears were never in control. So very nice week for NASDAQ. Let's see if they can continue. All right, moving back to our trade plan for this week on NASDAQ, they would need to hold above 265. If they can hold above 265, the next target is 494. That's going to be an increase of 230 points. If they can hold above that, we're looking for 619. That's going to be the highs back here on late March, early April. And by the way, the first target is this value level right here on that first week of April. If they cannot stay above 265, let me go ahead and mark this as the secondary line there. If they pull back a little bit, but they can still stay above 106, then they are still looking slightly bullish. If they cannot stay above 106, then we are once again looking for the value levels from last week. Value area high, POC, value area low. Value area high is right around 18,000. That's going to be a drop of 80 points. The POC is a drop of about 200. And the value area low is a drop of about 550. Probably not going to see the value area low. Like we said on ES, it would have to have pretty much every single data print come out bearish, and it would just have to nuke the entire week. So I don't think we'll get down there. But if a couple data prints are bearish, maybe if CPI sends the dollar higher, we definitely could get to that POC target. So keep an eye on that. The main target would be around that 885 for the bears, and then 494 for the bulls. Okay, moving on to Bitcoin here. So with Bitcoin, what we have been doing the last few weeks is we have been marking this out as one very large distribution. But this week, I'm actually going to break it down into two distributions. It's a double distribution in my eyes now. So the first distribution was kind of this original distribution right here, and then it started to kind of lose the low right here. You started to push down and lose that original distribution low. So this move here is that secondary part of that distribution. So you can see I marked out the profiles here just to see where the value is trading during both of these distributions. So what I found is the buyer demand seems like it's right around 57 to 58. You can see it's kind of holding on to that low right there. The value area low of the original distribution, this one right here, is trading around 65,000. So that would be the major level the bulls need to hold above in order to get bullish again. If they cannot hold above that original value area low, that kind of 65K, then they're just chopping out, right? They're pushing into that anchored VWAP from way back on early January. Okay. So that anchored VWAP is right around 61,000. They tried to lose it right here, quickly reclaimed it, and now we're sitting right on it on that low currently. So if they stay below 61, look for that buyer demand into 57, and then we have buyer demand just below that around 51 as well. In the meantime, this does look like an inverse head and shoulders. So if they can protect this low here, look for that value retrace back into 65K. But like I just said, it needs to stay above 65K in order for those bulls to really take control. So a couple things would be happening if they can stay above 65K. They would be breaking this little downtrend structure here, and they would also be breaking the neckline of that inverse head and shoulders. And once again, they would also be reclaiming that value low. Okay, so it is a major level, 65K. Remember that. It is also the anchored VWAP from the high there. So there's about 4 major levels lining up in that 65 to 67 area. So reclaim 65, hold on to that. Next target would be 68, and then the seller demand around 71 to 74. 65K is definitely the most important level on the chart. But all right, we're going to move on to oil here. Before we move on, if you guys like the video, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe if you guys are new. I'm going to go ahead and move on here. All right, so moving on to oil. The anchored VWAP from the low still being protected. You did have a nasty sell-off on Friday, and it looks like we're opening slightly bearish, trying to push that anchored VWAP again. So if they can stay below 78, it's the most key level on the chart here. If they can stay below 78, look for that pullback into 76. That's where that kind of flip zone was. And then below that, we have buyer demand around 72 to 73. So looking at the profile from this recent high, you can see we're kind of in a triple distribution. We got a node here, we have a node here, and we have a node here. So if we can reclaim this lower node, that 78 to kind of 79 area, the major target would be that POC of the secondary node around 83, and then the POC around 85. We just need to maintain this 78 anchored VWAP. Doesn't look so good so far, so definitely needs to find some buy pressure. All right, moving on to gold. Not a whole lot changed. Pretty much nothing changed, actually, in our trade plan. So the Fibonacci levels that we had marked out for last week, that 2308, 2282, and then we had that buyer demand down there as well. You damn near bounced off that 50% fib, almost to the dollar there. You actually front ran that level by a little bit. So that 50% fib is acting as support. We are back above the anchored VWAP from the high there. We could look at a volume profile of this distribution if we wanted to, just to kind of see where it's trading. But as you can see, it's a fairly balanced profile. So there is value on every single level here. So not extremely helpful. Basically what we're looking for here is we want to see it hold above this current high, so anywhere around 75. Look for that seller demand. It needs to really hold above 24.25 if it goes for a breakout. If it breaks out, but it stays kind of in that seller demand zone, then it's not done with the distribution, and it will most likely come back into this range. Okay, so watch out for that fake out fib. All right, last but not least, let's talk about the dollar here. Nothing has changed on the dollar. We're still watching that very key support around 105 to 104.9. As long as that holds, it is slightly bullish on the longer term trend. Obviously, on the short trend, we kind of have like a bearish channel here. But on the longer term trend, you can consider that a bull flag. So if we can stay above this 105, look for that downtrend to break. We need to see probably a break into 106 pretty early. If it breaks into 106 fairly early, look for that gap around 106.7, and that would be very bearish for the indexes. The correlation has been pretty hit or miss, so it's not absolutely following ES and NASDAQ. Like, they're not correlating with the dollar right now, but keep an eye on that correlation because it should spike with the CPI data and maybe the PPI data as well. But all right, guys, look out for the newsletter that is tied to this video. It's going to be the first link in the description below. And I will see you guys during our live stream for the rest of the week, Monday through Friday. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.